Thanks for your support in the previous video, and I hope this video reaches 3,000 likes as well. Then she inquired, "What level did you reach, Black Scythe Nim?" As Ryu moved his lips, Minjuri asked again, wondering if she had heard incorrectly, and said, "Sorry, what did you say?" Ryu said, "Level 70. It was a level worth being astonished about, after all." But their conversation was interrupted by the system's message appearing in front of everyone. The mission to escort the Dwarf Guild has been completed. Current personnel status, participants, 190, traders, 5, in fact. The mission to escort the Dwarf Guild concluded with a relatively low death toll of 40. Among them, 24 were killed not by monsters, but by other humans as part of the trader group. Ryu and 4 others managed to survive to the end without being detected. Of course, surviving was just the beginning of their challenges. Then a message appeared in front of the 5 traders, including Ryu. "Since you failed to disrupt the guild's journey, all stats will be reduced by 20% until the end of the round. You will be moved to the trader group's waiting area shortly." Not being caught during the search was a relief. But the group mission failure was a gloomy affair for the other traders, not for Ryu. Then Ryu said to himself, "I managed to level up to 70 with the Dwarf Guild. The experience points were surprisingly good." After that, Minjuri and Seo Arin approached to say goodbye, and they said, "Now it's over, Black Scythe Nim. Good work, Black Scythe Nim." Their expressions seemed regretful, as if they were reluctant to part. Ryu said, "Good job. See you in the next round." With those words from Ryu, the background changed, and the angel appeared and said, "Welcome back, traitors." Huh? But suddenly, the angel Ariel frowned delicately and said, "Only 5 of you left? Ha! That's far fewer than I expected." One traitor inquired, "Expectations? Did you expect so many of us to die?" The angel Ariel replied, "Of course. I expected the traitors to be quickly identified and eliminated in the small dwarf guild. Did you really think it would be easy?" The traitor who spoke up fell silent as if hit by the painful truth. The angel laughed and said, "Then that's really naive. Or are you just stupid? It's obvious that it's harder to hide your identity when there are fewer people." In reality, the Dwarf Guild was the most difficult challenge for the traitor group, and the perception of it being easy was merely a standard set for the escort groups. And if it's easy for the escort group, then it's hard for the traitor group. Then the angel said, "The good news is, you still have hope. There are 2 more chances. In fact, if they can stop either the Elf Guild or the Human Guild from reaching their destination, the traitor group can survive. That is, if they can manage it." The angel added, "Cheer up. The next mission with the Elf Guild won't be as difficult as this one. There are as many as 700 participants." The 4 traders, excluding Ryu, were surprised by the number, more than triple the previous count. Indeed, beautiful elves are more popular than the unattractive dwarves. Then the angel laughed and said, "This time, the 5 of you should work closely together. Of course, you'll have to deal with the stat penalty." The 5 traders looked at each other, and they said, "We're only 5 left. Let's do well this time, and we have to stick together if we want to survive." Then one said, "Should we come up with some sort of strategy, Black Scythe Nim?" Their eyes turned to Ryu, seemingly appointing him as the leader naturally. Ryu said coldly, "Do whatever you want." In fact, Ryu had no intention of mingling with them. Though they share a common goal, a solo player remains solo, and he couldn't trust people who weren't his party members. Then one trader inquired, "Black Scythe Nim, you don't plan to strategize?" Another said, "That's right. I didn't see you when we were trying to attack the dwarves." The trader stopped speaking mid-sentence, silenced by the lethal look in Ryu's eyes. And Ryu said, "Why should I trust any of you? We're not even in the same party." The trader said, "But we're in the same group." Ryu said, "Only in terms of objectives, we're practically individuals. That's why we receive experience points separately." Ryu coldly refused and turned away and said, "Better focus on hunting." His declaration of solo play darkened the expressions of the other traders. It seemed they were not confident in attacking the elves' caravan without Black Scythe. Watching this, Ariel chuckled and said, "Oh dear, it seems there's a lack of consensus within the group." "Well, that's none of my concern. I'm just here to move you to the Elf Guild," one inquired. "But Angel, if we go to the Elf Guild, does that mean the players there have been waiting for us for 5 hours?" The Angel replied, "Ah, didn't I mention? While you traitors are on your mission, time is frozen for the other guilds. That includes the people who just finished with the Dwarf Guild. Otherwise, the other groups would have to endure boring times while you tackle other guilds. Don't worry about the other humans, though. Right now, what matters most is yourselves, right? Listening to her annoyingly jovial voice, the traitors waited to be moved. Then Angel said, "Shall we go to the Elf Guild then? I sincerely hope you succeed this time." After changing locations, one inquired, "The Elf Guild quest location. Unlike the gloomy rock terrain of the Dwarf Guild, this place was filled with lush trees and fragrances. But the biggest difference was the players. As the angel mentioned, about 700 people filled the forest. And one trader said to himself, 'With this many people, it won't be easy to find us like last time.' On one hand, the traders were relieved they wouldn't be easily exposed beforehand. But suddenly, the system message appeared in front of them. Trader group failure penalty. All stats reduced by 20%. The message that appeared to one side only served to deepen their despair. But Ryu paid no mind to such messages, and he said to himself, "This will start the same way." Shocked by the nicknames, shocked by the number of traitors. As Ryu predicted, the players were first surprised by the absence of their nicknames, then by the message that appeared. Escort the Elf Guild. Safely escort the Elf Guild to its destination. If successful, all participants will receive experience points. The person who contributes most to defeating the traitors will receive a sub-quest reward. If all traitors are eliminated, additional rewards will be given. Current personnel status. Participants, 740. Traitors, 5. Then one player said, "Look at this. There are 5 traitors among us." "How do we find them?" another inquired. "What if we start by attacking each other?" The players, perplexed, decided to start by probing each other with attacks. However, they soon realized it was impossible to check over 700 people one by one and gave up. Then one said, "We need to catch those traitor bastards." "How do we find those 5? Another said, "It feels as uncomfortable as having a bug in your mouth, really." While the players sighed in frustration, the traitor group breathed a sigh of relief. Then the carriage procession appeared, and one player shouted, "Oh, elves, elves!" Another said, "Really? They look exactly like the elves from the game." The elves, with their pointed ears, were distinguished by their fair skin and beautiful features, regardless of gender. This was a stark contrast to the dwarves, who all resembled uncles or grandfathers. Then a tall, handsome elf stepped forward and bowed gracefully and said, "Greetings, warriors from the other world. As promised, you were waiting here, and my name is Ugrito, and I operate the magic caravan under El Sorium. It's reassuring to have the warriors of the temple come to meet us." His smile was enough to sway the hearts of the female players. But to the men, it was nothing short of nauseating. It was common for the natives to address the players this way. For Ryu, this was nothing new, but for players encountering the natives for the first time, even understanding the language was fascinating. Then one player said, "Wow, elves really exist? Or are they created beings?" Another asked, "Are you really an elf?" Ugrito tilted his head, puzzled, and inquired, "Eh? What do you mean?" Ryu thought it was a foolish question to ask if elves truly existed. It was like asking a human if they were really human. Then Ryu said to himself, "The important thing isn't whether elves exist, it's how much we can benefit from them." Like how he gained the rune of durability by increasing his reputation with the dwarf race, there were benefits to be gained from the elves. And Ryu added, "The elixir that elves only offer to truly important guests. That's what I need to get from this escort mission." And if you ask, how could Ryu be treated as such an esteemed guest? The answer was simple. Just like with the dwarves, saving their lives should do the trick. But for that, the traitors needed to make a move, and they didn't seem to have the guts. And even if they attack, the elf knights disguised as merchants and the earth and wind spirits surrounding the carriages will protect them, rendering it futile. So Ryu had to wait for a monster attack and save them from a crisis. But saving the elf merchants wouldn't yield much more than gratitude. Then Ryu said, "The reason why knights would disguise themselves as merchants was clear without reading thoughts. That they have something precious to protect, and if Ryu could barely save that precious thing, surely the elves would treat Ryu Min as a distinguished guest, even as a lifelong benefactor." Then Ryu's gaze swept over the line of carriages. Among the 30 carriages, only the 15th in the middle had a distinctly different design and pattern. And he said, "There it is. There, the elf princess, Euphanelsia, is hiding, and if he could protect her from a monster attack, Ryu-min would be able to obtain what he desired from the elves. But suddenly, someone who recognized Ryu approached him. It was none other than Aged Man No Gay, and he said, "Oh, Black Scythe Nim?" Ryu said, "Aged Man No Gay, you were here." Aged Man No Gay inquired, "Black Scythe Nim, how are you?" Ryu said, "Obviously. I chose the Elf Guild, so I'm here." After speaking, he read Heo Taesuk's thoughts and realized the question had a different implication. He's wondering how Ryu chose the same location as him. It was a ridiculous misunderstanding, but there was no need to correct him. Then, Aged Man No Gay himself shook his head, correcting his own thoughts, and said to himself, "Black Scythe Nim wouldn't have known I chose the Elf Guild. Then, is this a fateful encounter? A destiny to party with Black Scythe Nim again?" He was trying to find any way to connect himself with Black Scythe. Ryu asked him, "Why are you looking at me like that?" Aged Man No Gay, who had been intently staring at Ryu, suddenly turned away shyly and said, "Oh, nothing." And Ryu said to himself, knowing his intentions makes his gaze all the more burdensome. But there was another person who made him feel uncomfortable. As an unexpected figure approached Ryu and said, "Black Scythe?" Ryu said, "You are?